Ready to elevate your credit understanding and score? With insider tips and a plan, you can take action to improving your score, which can save thousands in unnecessary finance charges. Let's tackle today's topic with your coach, Credit Christy.
Hey friends, it's Christy, your credit coach. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. Today, let's talk about the psychology of spending. So have you ever gone into Target or, one of the big box stores and you walked out with candles and a plant and a seasonal throw pillow and zero memory of what just happened? Yeah, same. And here's the plot twist. Most of our money decisions aren't logical. They're emotional. It's psychological, and it's highly influenced by how our brain is wired. So today, we're not talking budgets and spreadsheets, so don't check out on me now. Not my jam. But we are talking about the mind games that are running your money life. I talk to so many people that say, if I could just make another $10,000 a year, I can get out of this situation. And then guess what happens? They get the promotion or they get the job where they're making $10,000 more a year, and they're in the same exact position. See, the more that we earn, the more we tend to spend. Because the fastest way to change your finances isn't just changing your income, it's changing your thinking. And if you are seeking tactical ways, deep and actual steps on how to change your credit profile, I've got 140 something episodes that you can dive deep into that. But please stay with me for the next 10 minutes or so. And let's talk about the psychology and the emotions behind those decisions our brains make when it comes time to spend money. So first and foremost, I need for you to know that there is a real difference on if we spend cash or if we spend on a card. Most of us don't walk around with cash. I know I don't, but I'm starting to make that effort towards that again. Because at one point in my life, I had that cash in my wallet or in my purse that was my free money to spend. So that way, if I saw something that I didn't need, but I absolutely wanted, if I had the cash to spend on it, I could. Well, I've gotten into the habit, and I bet you listening here is saying, yep, that's me, where if I want it, I just swipe that card. And then you wake up one day and you've got thousands of dollars on a credit card balance. See, the people I talk to that need help through their credit situation, need help with their budget, or they're looking to get pre-approved or prepared to buy a home, which is the largest financial decision of their entire life. A lot of them are walking around with thousands and thousands of dollars on credit card balances that aren't getting paid off each month. And if that's you, I need you to listen in. I need you to lean in. So let's talk about the difference between cash versus card. When you pay with cash, your brain experiences a pain of payment. You physically get to see that money leave your hand. It's a real, tangible thing. And it stings a little. But with a credit card, it just feels like, swipe. And it doesn't physically hurt. Studies show that people consistently spend more when using credit cards versus cash because your brain doesn't register the loss the same way. Cash is emotional awareness. A credit card is emotional disassociation. So if you find yourself overspending on certain categories, like eating out, buying on Amazon, Target's emotional support aisle, try using cash for just 1 month and watch your behavior shift. And it's not because you're suddenly disciplined, it's because your brain finally feels it. Next, let's talk about the endowment effect. If you're anything like me, you may not have even heard the word endowment until right now. See, endowment in my world had really meant like money that was given to like a college or a hospital or a nonprofit. And it provides it with like income or, money that they could use for a library or for building their building or whatever that case is. In the insurance world, it's a type of insurance that you pay a regular amount of money over a particular period of time or until you die, after which the insurance company pays an amount of money. But in this case, there's a psychological term called the endowment effect. So here's what that means. It means that we automatically and subconsciously place more value on things we already own over what we would ever pay for them today. In other words, the endowment effect says, I paid for this, so it's priceless. So let's break this down. That dusty treadmill in your garage, you won't sell it for $50 at a garage sale because I paid $900 for that. But if you saw the same treadmill on Facebook Marketplace for $900 today, you'd be like, absolutely not. I paid $900 for a brand new one. This person's trying to sell me a used one for $900. That's the endowment effect. Ownership inflates value in our minds. It's why our closets stay full of stuff that we haven't worn in years or maybe worn at all. I've got a couple dresses that have tags on it. I just haven't found the right event or day or mood to wear it. It's why storage units stay rented and garages, they become museums full of, guilt and trashy treasure. The emotional lesson: past spending shouldn't hold your future hostage. And that's where I see a lot of times where people are trying to sell and buy their home at the same time. They want top dollar for their home because it's their home. That's where their best friend's wedding happened in the backyard, or their baby, their first bedroom was the third bedroom. But when they go to purchase a home, they want to come in with a low ball offer because that's not worth $450,000. It's chalked up to the endowment effect. So just know that that's ruling some decision making, whether you acknowledge it or not. Third, let's talk about the sunk cost bias. I love this one. It's so important to acknowledge, to understand, to know more about. It's the money that you already lost because you paid for something. And this one is personal for a lot of people. Sunk cost bias is what happens when we keep pouring money into something just because we've already invested in it. Maybe you had a side hustle that you're going, oh, yeah, after that initial payment, I should have just stopped, but I kept putting money into it. Las Vegas casinos know this so well. This is their business model. You put some money into it, you're up a little bit, then you're down a whole lot. And you're like, if I just put more and more and more in on the bets, I can recuperate my money. Well, they know that the odds are in their favor for that. So let me give you a couple more examples. Staying in a financial decision is bad because, quote, I've already put so much into it, end quote. Or keeping a subscription that you don't use. Well, I've had it for 3 years. Or repairing a car that really has kind of seen its better days, but I've already fixed so much. Maybe it's time to stop putting more money into it. So let me say this clearly. Money already spent is gone. But continuing to spend just to justify the past, well, that will rob your future faster than any bad investment ever could. So the sunk cost bias, it's this fallacy, this mindset of continuing with the decision just because of pouring into past investments, even when logic would say otherwise. And friends, it's a flawed process of thinking, but I see it happen all the time. We're literally making irrational decisions because we are factoring in influences other than current alternatives. When you've already invested heavily in time and money and effort or even emotional energy, sometimes giving up is clearly the better idea, but that's where that bias comes in. I use the example in my book in Finish Financially Free. Imagine you bought a concert ticket a few weeks ago for $50, and beyond the cost, you're super excited. All your friends are going, the band is one of your favorites, but on the day of the concert, you feel sick and it's raining outside. You know that traffic will be worse because of the rain, and you risk getting even more sick by going to the concert. Although it seems that the current drawbacks outweigh the benefits, you're still likely to choose to go to the concert. And that's because of the sunk cost bias. You've already invested in it. in this case, in a monetary fashion. So even though the evidence is there that, hey, it's probably a good idea to not go, forfeit the $50 and the great experience, but now you avoid getting more sick and feeling really lousy, potentially at the concert. But just understand, in economic terms, sunk costs are costs that have already been incurred and they can't be recovered. And although we're talking about money, the sunk cost bias, it isn't always just related to money. I'd alluded to it earlier. Sometimes it's effort, emotional energy, or time. And although we're talking about how you spend money, just understand that this shows up in relationships too. I've seen people stay in long-term partnerships for much longer than what they should have because they're no longer happy. But they're like, I've already poured this much time into this person. And rather than focusing on the potential for a healthier and more fulfilling future with a different relationship, sometimes it's easier to kind of cling to the past, and fear takes over, and the thought of, well, all of those efforts would have been wasted. And this shows up also in investments, in career choices, in education. I know of somebody very dear in my life. She started going to culinary school. She loved cooking, but thinking about it as a career, and about halfway through her education, she decided, there's no way I'm going to be a chef. There's no way I'm going to be working in a restaurant's kitchen. But you know what happened? She finished that degree or that certification through, even knowing she's not going to apply it in her life. She thought, well, I've already got this time and money invested, so I'm just going to, see it through to the end. That's an example of sunk cost bias. And why do we go through all of these extremities? Because it's connected with loss aversion. Sometimes the impact of that loss might feel worse to us than the impact of gains. It's usually a misjudgment on our part because, again, that bias exists. So hopefully just having this in your awareness can help you to see it and maybe avert a little bit earlier in the process than seeing it through to where you've got so much money, good money after bad, thrown at something. Next, let's talk about mental accounting. Sometimes $20 found feels like free money. So let's talk about this. Your brain separates money into emotional buckets. Tax refund, fun money. Bonus, treat yourself. Gift card, a little self-indulgence. But here's the truth that your brain avoids. All money is equal. The $20 you found in your purse has the same value as the $20 you sacrificed for an hour and a half at work. Your brain labels money differently so it can emotionally justify spending. And that's why so many people stay confused about where their money actually goes, because we put labels on our money rather than just letting our money all be equal. See if you can catch yourself doing this. Is this something that you do as well? I wore a jacket I hadn't worn in a little while, finally sweater weather again, and I went to put something in my pocket, and guess what I found? A $5 bill. I didn't know that baby was missing, but it felt like free money. And I literally said that, oh, look, free money. But it was my money. It wasn't free. I worked for that. But do you see what I did there? I labeled it as this bonus where I could just spend it and treat myself. And this is a small example, but those things add up over time. Or something as large as a tax refund. For a lot of people, that's thousands of dollars. That could pay off your car and free up $500 a month in that payment. That could go towards your down payment of your first home or finally get you out of credit card debt. But what do we do with it in our brain? It's fun money. Let's go treat ourselves. Let's go on a cruise, right? Because it feels like it's free and found. And then finally, let's talk about scarcity mindset versus safety mindset. For most people, we don't just spend from numbers or a budget. We spend from our identity and our inherited beliefs, our history. If you grew up with lack or chaos or instability, your brain learned spend now. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. If you grew up with fear around money, your brain learned hoard, protect, don't trust abundance. We don't know abundance. Neither extreme leads to peace. That goal is financial safety, and that is rooted in wisdom, not trauma. Your habits didn't come out of nowhere. They came out of survival. The beautiful part, though, is survival patterns can be rewritten. You don't have to stay in survival mode. And actually, if you look around and you are debt-free and you have a few months' worth of emergency savings in your safety account and you feel stable in your work, allow yourself permission to take a deep breath and realize you're not surviving. You're on your way to thriving. That's safety mindset. And now you can start making bigger plans and goals to meet your desires, to fill up your fun bucket, to make plans to not have to work until your death day, to treat the family to something special, however planned, planned and paid for. So start asking yourself, why do I feel the need to buy this? Am I solving a problem or am I soothing an emotion? Do I want this or do I want how it makes me feel? I know that sometimes when I'm feeling a little lonely or down or, I don't know, just kind of upset about something, I find myself walking around one of the big box stores, spending money on things I don't need. And hopefully that fulfilling of a want fills that spot in my heart. But let's do that at a place where it's not getting us deeper into debt. That money set aside in that free money category to spend any way we want to. But for most people, we're not set up that way. Not yet. Money isn't just about math. It's communication between your present self and your future self. And your future self? Well, she deserves stability and peace and options. And that means cutting through the noise of not ordering self-soothing junk from Amazon or Temu or Target. So this week, try one experiment. Before any non-essential purchase, pause and think. Am I spending from logic, emotion, or habit? That single pause, that's where the transformation begins. Your brain and your bank account are about to thank you. When we can really pinpoint what is the driver, the motivator of our spending and how and why we spend, well, that's where us smart people can stop making some dumb money decisions and start being the master of our money. You work too hard for your take-home dollars, and only you can set up those boundaries and direct your money where to go. So if you find yourself with a car loan and student loans and thousands of dollars on credit card balances because you can't find a way to get out from underneath it, let's start with your current present spending. Let's pay attention to that and see what can shift. And the less you spend on the things that you don't need, that are just out of habit or out of want, the faster we can start getting those credit card balances down, your credit scores up, and your goals designed and met. If what you heard here hits you right and you want to know more, check out my book called Finish Financially Free. It's available on Amazon or anywhere books are sold online. Finish Financially Free. Hey, if you have a topic you'd like for me to make an episode on, or if you have a question, send me an email at questions@creditchristie.com. And until next time, my friends, stay well.